Hello, welcome to Chris McGinty's Vlog.
It's called Vlog.
Welcome to Chris McGinty's. It's called Vlog.
Always censored this.
No.
Dipshit.
Today, we're going to talk about a movie which, you know, it's technically old now, but it's a movie called Tron, or is this Legacy? Sorry, Tron Legacy. I have two guests with me today, and actually one of them I actually went and saw the movie with, so it should be kind of interesting. Let me just go ahead and start out by saying that I do have a favorable opinion of the movie, just to get that out of the way. And, Earthquake! Earthquake, no!
What's up with you?
Keep these out more. Buy it now.
Anyway, so I did have a favorable opinion of the movie, and we will probably discuss more specific things. But first of all, I would like to introduce you to Nathan.
Are you going to ask him questions or something?
No, my name is Lauren.
Oh, hi.
I'm not Nathan.
Hi, Nathan.
I'm Lauren.
Hi, Nathan.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not sure really what I'm supposed to be saying here, but I'll just, I'll chip in. I really enjoyed the movie. Thought it was quite good. I don't know. You want to just jump into it?
Yeah.
Having been a big fan of the original movie, it's pretty awesome. As a movie itself, it was well made, well done. Every category I could rate a movie on: special effects, action, plot's decent enough. It's not Shakespeare, but it's definitely really quite good. And I just really enjoyed the movie. As far as remakes go, it's about as good as you can get. I don't know what else needs to be said other than that.
I'll have some things to say, and then you'll definitely jump back up in front of him.
Oh, sure.
So let's introduce Lauren.
I'm Nathan. Okay, I saw this movie. This was I'm going to be. It's negative. My review is probably a little more negative. Well, it's a lot more negative than Lauren's, but I'd like to temper that with the fact that this is the first time I've seen an IMAX 3D movie. I've seen IMAX, but not 3D at all, and definitely not IMAX 3D. So, first of all, I'm going to jump off into the 3D thing. I really didn't like it. Not the Tron 3D thing, the 3D thing in general. I felt like it was a gimmick, and I was focusing too much on it and not what was going on. But then again, most 3D movies are for the action and the visuals. It's not like you're going to see Shakespeare or something like that. But with that said, the whole 3D thing, I found the glasses uncomfortable or kind of annoying. Sometimes, like, you know, I don't know if you just have to get into a movie theater where it's perfectly calibrated or not. It looked okay. It just wasn't like great. I didn't feel like it was worth it. I seemed to have a focus point on the movie, so I was kind of having to focus on what I wanted to see. And really, I would have loved to just seen a perfectly clear picture all the way across. As far as the movie goes, it was fine for a sequel. It wasn't a remake, though. It was a sequel.
Technically right.
And, you know, I thought there was a lot of unnecessary stuff because they're trying to set up for sequels, obviously. Like Dillinger's son, who's on the board, who looks very emo or something. And then there was some plot points that I didn't understand. If at the end of the movie, Flynn, he's very powerful, apparently. Why was he so scared to come back onto the grid if he was that powerful? He could blow up things and stop things and suck people around and dismantle things. I don't understand that.
Because Clue also had his abilities. That's why.
He was still pretty powerful. I think he was being overly cautious.
Okay,
We'll
that's besides the
back
point.
to you in a minute. I've got it.
Don't
Homework. Just a real quick thought about the 3D. What I did actually like about the 3D, I understand that he's not saying Tron's 3D specifically. When we were watching the previews, they had the Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's like there's like a shot where he sticks a sword through the door, and it's just like this really bad rendition of a sword that's like going hey like stuff.
It looked like the 3D from back in the early '90s when they were at the
and that really was kind of gimmicky, you know. But I understand sometimes the stuff coming out looks really good when you do that, but in that case it didn't. But what I liked about Tron was that all of the 3D, you had the screen and then everything went back, you know, to where there wasn't things jumping out at you. It was like basically when you were in the grid, you know, it turned into, it's no longer the normal world, it's this world. So that was what I really liked about the 3D.
Yeah, as far as the 3D goes, I agree. It was a bit underplayed compared to a lot of the newer 3D movies out there. It wasn't as good as Avatar, but Avatar has pretty much been the best 3D movie to come out. But it'll adopt a lot of the same ideas, as far as I could tell. Where a lot of it was underplayed on purpose. The subtlety is, if you have an overly obvious 3D element, it detracts from it and makes it harder for the brain to accept. The whole way that 3D works. And so the simpler, more impressible, it added a lot of depth to the elements of it. But that's just, of course, the 3D elements of it. And I thank for correcting me. It is a sequel, not a remake. I keep saying that on accident. But which I actually was very happy about initially, rather than making a remake of it, which would have been a very bad idea. There was no reason to remake it. It's so dated as far as the original goes, which was another one of the points I wanted to talk about. I like the fact that they were able to modernize it in the context of the storyline by actually advancing the age of the characters and keeping everything relevant and in the continuity of it.
Like when they were talking about wireless.
Exactly.
I came up with that.
It was very, very clever, the way that they worked all of it, which is what I liked about the story.
I have issue with that. Ding, ding, ding.
Oh.
About that is what he's saying is right. Yeah, that stuff where he's talking about the stuff, the way the world advances. There was slightly, of course, a liberal slant when he said the rich are getting richer. Okay, whatever.
It was the viewpoint of the character, though.
It's a viewpoint of Hollywood, but nevertheless. No, my problem is that somehow the stuff on the grid has changed. The purpose has changed. Like, there was a lot of kind of weird stuff in the first, because, they were just breaking new ground. But, like, I had an issue with, why now are there nightclubs, and why are they watching the games like it's some sort of, Roman or some sort of Coliseum event. And the other programs were like, yeah! It was, for some reason, it just seemed like their whole point in the first movie was to be in playing those games. It was just like part of what the MPs.
Master Control Program.
Yeah, that's MCP was doing. So I was kind of like, well, why did I understand, of course, it makes it more exciting and stuff, but I just didn't understand that flow. Then again, I'm nitpicking because I'm a fan of the original.
I do have a thought on that.
Yes.
I think the reason why is because the Master Control Program was very much, whereas Clue was really more looking like he had Jeff Bridges' ideas, his basic outlook on life and the grand scope and all that sort of stuff, but he was not doing what Flynn was trying to do. He was going a different direction.
Well, technically he was, but that was the problem. He was being too specific.
Right.
He said, I want you to make it perfect, and he was literally trying to do that.
So,
so the next topic is Clue himself. I want you to talk about him, because I got a lot to say about him.
Okay. Just real quickly, I'd like to say that the plot, whereas it was not like, I think there kind of becomes this point where when every movie has like these plots that are ever changing and you don't know how to keep up with it, that sometimes when you sit down and watch a movie that just has a very good, from start to finish, solid plot, it's kind of hard to sit there and be mystified by it. But when you really look back on it, it was good, and I really actually enjoyed the fact that it was just a good movie. So, and I guess you'll talk about Clue when you get there.
Or he can talk about it.
It's really good. But
that would be a good thing to do another one of. But Clue, it was an interesting character. It was a bit stereotyped. I'm not going to bait around the bush. The character was extraordinarily wooden and stereotyped. But then again, he is a program, and he's not exactly meant to be Mr. Personality either. As far as the storyline, I don't really have any strong opinions one way or the other about it. I thought it was a decent enough storyline for the movie to be entertaining. A lot of this comes out, we were just talking about, they added elements to the film that, like you said, you were annoyed by the things that they changed and they expanded the scope of it. I'll be honest, I don't think it had anything other than to do that 20 years later, movie making has come 10 times farther. They can add more depth. They have bigger budgets. I think it just looked cooler, and to be honest, I think that's why they did it. They made a kind of a shift in the continuity of it, and they added more characters, more different people, which is something they couldn't manage to do in the first one. It's like when Lucas went back and re-edited Star Wars, and he added in extra elements. The difference being in this case, I thought it actually added a lot more to it. And it does create kind of a continuity issue, but that's easily explained away.
Would you agree that it looks cooler if you were to just see Tron for the first time now, or because I mean it looked pretty cool.
Yes, no, and then that's what I'm saying is holding it to comparison to the original is a little bit unfair in certain regards, just because of the amount of time span that's passed between the two of them. Movie making has come a long way since then, and not just in special effects, but in actual like method of the craft and how they shoot the shots. I mean, just from a lot of different technical aspects, this one just had a lot more going on.
Yeah, and in spite of everything, though, I mean, the first movie still.
Oh yeah, and that's to say, I'm still a huge fan of the original.
The clue, I was mainly talking about the way he looked. I thought it really sucked. There was a lot of hype about it, especially from the media, and I don't think it turned out quite as good
with
as
the young version of him. Is that what you're talking about?
Right. You know, it's just they haven't gotten that down. Except if you look at Avatar, that's just fantastic. How do they do that? But they could not do that with Clue.
Sure.
So that was a problem. Candace, my wife, said that he looked like he came right out of The Sims 3 is what it looks like. And I kind of agree.
I can actually see that, funnily enough.
The next thing I was going to mention was one really great scene I would have loved to have seen, which when they were doing the flashbacks about the early thing, and we're going to make this a perfect world, it would have been cool to see like them changing the very 2D of the original movie, like, you know, like doing something that would upgrade it and make it look more realistic. So we saw that bridge. That would have been kind of cool. One of the things I've heard people complain about was the light cycles are now like taking corners and doing stuff. And one of the things that I remember listening to in the commentary for Tron 1 back whenever they released it on DVD is that they wanted it to do something very different, like make those crazy sharp angles because it was a computer. And they kind of seem to have abandoned that. And it's the same guys who wrote this one that wrote the original Tron. So I guess they just were like, it would be much more dramatic if they could do this. So they changed
games look different now too.
I think that's more to do with it, honestly, than anything.
I thought they kind of, I'm not going to say they jumped the shark with this movie, they kind of blew their wad. This would have made a great third movie in the series, because this was like the ultimate sort of thing, like, oh no, the digital world's about to break into the real one. I think this would have made a good second movie instead of this, because what are they going to do to top this, really?
Well, to be honest, you mentioned you thought they were setting it up for sequels. I actually don't agree with that. I don't think they have any intention of doing any more. I think this is a one-shot, to be honest. But
I don't think so.
They could. They did leave it open enough that they could do another one, but I don't think that they will. But that's a personal
that's all I had to say
opinion.
Complain about a lot of Hollywood movies anyway. It's like the fate of the world is in such and such's hands.
Right.
Like it just kind of, you know, it seems to be just the go-to now.
The original plot was, we got to get out of here. And this one is, of course, like today's movies. Yeah. The world's going to end if we can't stop.
While it has the original element of we need to get out of here, it also has the element of I need to save this world. I need to save these people with the God, I forgot the name of them now. The people that had wandered in.
Yeah, the
isotopes.
Isotropes, was it? Or
I don't know, but they kept referring to them as isos.
Yeah.
One thing that I kind of, me and Lauren actually discussed this, was it's like Tron being, you know, like this is Tron Legacy. It's like Tron was really not a character.
Well, if I was just about to talk about that.
And that kind of was. But I guess the thing is you kind of go back and you look at the original, and he wasn't the central character anyway. No. I mean, Flynn was always the central character, so it's kind of odd in that way. But
he was certainly a main character, though.
Yeah.
He's certainly not a supporting role,
yeah.
Which is why I was a little disappointed.
So, I don't know. I mean, he looks good as Scarecrow. I mean, he does.
You know, after having raved about the film as much, I should probably give my downsides of it, which aren't many, but I agree. Tron was probably my complaint about the film. They just didn't do a lot with him. I understand the way they wrote the character. They rewrote him to be converted over and becomes a villain and all that, so they kind of didn't want to detract away from that. And I understand that, but they chose to write it that way. They didn't necessarily have to. And that was my disappointment, is the movie's called Tron, and Tron's really not in it all that much. In fact, for a long time, you don't even know he is Tron. That was my major disappointment with the film. But pretty much my only major disappointment. Beyond that, the only thing I could have asked for would be to... actually, I did find my other annoyment was the character who ran the bar, and I don't want to give any spoilers here, but the storyline that it was involved with, that was a little bit over the top, and I also... He reminded me of the character of the Merovingian from The Matrix, where while he exists in the world and he's really cool, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense as to why he's doing what he's doing and how he's involved. And I thought that they kind of cheesed out on the explanation for that.
He was Ziggy Stardust. Hello.
While I said he looked really cool, I don't think he really his role in the universe wasn't as well defined as I would have liked. But maybe that's just what I saw. And then my last complaint was I really thought the ending sequence of the film, the big action sequence, was, for me, it was one big long string of conveniences. It was just one convenient transition from one action scene to the next. And it just kind of detracted from the epicness. A lot of it is, there's this big battle where they're on the light ship again, following down the path, trying to get to where they're going. And given the scope of the way it was done in the first movie and compared to the second movie, I actually thought that they upped all the other antes but didn't up that one. And then they've got flying machines and all this other stuff, and it just didn't feel epic enough for me. And I think that's pretty much my other complaint.
Yeah, the Tron character, that really... I'm wondering if it would have been better if they would have made him an actual unmasked character. I realized that budgetary reasons would have not been good there. But if you look at Bruce Boxleitner in the other scenes, he still looks pretty young. He looks pretty good for his age. And I think they wouldn't have had a hard time making a Tron guy. But I figured, the money-wise. Yeah, and you really weren't invested in him because you really weren't sure that it was him until later. And at that point, you're like, oh yeah, that's that guy, the guy with the mask. Like, who is he? Who really cares? Yeah, him taking the back seat kind of hurt. Probably that. And you're right about the whole thing, the conveniences happening at the end. It was like any other action movie. And then the last thing that annoyed me about the movie was how at the end it was just like, poof. Oh yeah, we're already out of the machine, and I'm leaving, and look, we've got clothes on. She's got clothes on. She just came out of the digital world, but look at her. She
but
trendy.
She's hot, dude.
So, that was... And I do think they were trying to set up some for a sequel, because why would they even bother with the Dillinger character at all? I mean, that to me was like really out of left field. I was like, oh, this guy's going to have some sort of
I suppose
plan.
that's true.
And then he just sort of, that was it. That was it.
It could also be taken as re-strengthening the connection to the old film, too, though.
Other than that, like I said, the whole 3D thing kind of threw me off. I would like to see it again, like on IMAX normal or regular screen normal. I'd say, and like the first few minutes when he gets out into the grid and he walks out of Flynn's on the digital side, that was just really cool. I was very impressed with it, and so we'll see what happens in Tron, Electric Boogaloo 3 or whatever it's called.
Do you have any more?
No. Any more comments?
Okay,
he's gonna wrap it up.
Close it. Yeah, I was actually my closing statement. He already made it, which is this girl was really cute.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Good night.